So basically, today, so we are starting the Porter's 5 process model, and then how we'll see that how it's going to apply in a given situation. As I told you, probably the examinations would be postponed again due to this current situation, but maybe if everything is going well, maybe if the country is going to open by next week or so, then we might have exams maybe at late November or so, if the things are going at this rate. Probably A-levels might not be held on as scheduled in November, so probably that it could get further postponed, means that we also have some timeline, maybe up to maybe November end or so. So probably gut feeling is like, so they could have, if everything is going back to the normal, then with vaccinations and all that, so we might have exams maybe last week of November to early December. So don't think too much on that. So what we have to do is like, so we have to plan our studies and exams, right, as presuming the exams would held on early as possible. So then and there you try to cover your areas and then move forward, so then we don't have any issues at the end, right? So as I discussed with you, so what my plan is like, so we'll do theory, bit of revisioning and bit of questions, right, like case study model, so within the allocated period. And so once we have done the sessions, then straight away we move to the question and answers on selected past papers. So I think with that, so we can be in a good position to cover syllabus plus the questions by maybe late October or maybe early November. So if the things are as planned, right? So today, what we try to discuss is maybe the Porter's 5 process model. Especially, it could be useful in different disciplines. Basically, that we are trying to understand it in the context of assessing the competition, assessing the competition in terms of market risk, right? So because if the competition is too high, then a new firm or the firm which is operating in a particular sector or segment will have some impact on managing the operation. So probably it might lead to the business risk or the market risk or industry risk, so that we need to have an idea. So what exactly we can do to assess the environment, and based on that, so we can take further calls, right? So before basically understanding valuation is forecasting the future cash flows of the firm, that's important to have good understanding of what the firm is, strength, where is its competitors and their strengths. Operate in a vacuum is impossible without knowing the environment. So that basically, if we need to understand about the firm, how they are going to do, their cash flow generation, future potential, and all that depends on key factors. Like, so maybe it could be about business environment, management environment, technical environment, legal, like, so there are so many things that we need to understand. So maybe the short-term pistol gave some insights to us, but this particular tool is mainly aiming to understand the business environment, or maybe the industry, the business, the firm operates. So hence that we need to understand which type of competition. It's a tightly, like closely competed market, or you are in a oligopoly, you are in a monopoly. So depending on that, so it can say your potential is like this, your cash flow generation is like this. So you can achieve a break even in like, this period. So we need to understand well about the environment we are operating in terms of in relation to competition. So that's why our whole exercise is on the Porter's 5 process, right? So systematic way of analyzing industry environment in which the firm finds itself. Necessary to sort to evaluate the firm within the environment. So basically, if you understand how my business works, how my competitors work, what should be my competitive advantages, how should I tackle or how should I manage the competition? So all is to understand the business environment or the environment in relation to business or the industry or the competition. Once you do that, then you can, go to the SWOT model and to further understand the other aspects of the firm with relation to internal and external environment. Again, once you have done that, so if you think about loan amount is high and you see it's a complex proposal, then so you can undertake a pestle environment. There's no such order, but you may start with the the porters and then go to the SWOT and then go to the pestle. So like that. So that's a kind of approach that here it's suggested, but it is not exactly necessary to follow that path. So you can start with the SWOT and then you see that there may be a kind of bit of competition is bit severe, right? Then you can understand competition levels and all that through the Porter's model. So that's how it works in another approach. Generally, this is very important slide. So sometimes in examination, the examiner would ask us, what do you understand by the 5 forces model, right? So what are the components of the 5 forces model? Briefly explain the Porter's model. So with the diagram that you can support this, that I will show the diagram in next slide. But before the diagrams, we will understand what are the 5 forces that we are interested to learn in order to understand the external environment or external business environment or external competition. Ease of entry of competitors. So how is or difficult to entry of new people, competitors to the existing market. Number 2, threat of substitutes. So whether substitutes are available, and if it is so, what could be the threat of that particular substitutes. Third one, how much the buyers are pushing you, how much their power in terms of deciding the prices and the product and services of the firm. Similarly, how much is the power of suppliers? So what's the impact the suppliers can create in terms of provisioning, in terms of deciding pricing, in terms of quality, durability, timing, and all that, depend on their bargaining power. Finally, how much the existing guys, existing people, existing firms are, competing each other, right? So those are the 5 things that we need to understand: entry of new competitors, theft of substitutes, bargaining power supplier, and existing players. So entry is basically how easy or difficult new entrants to start to compete, which barriers do exist generally. So we'll discuss those things in detail in short while, little while. And so this is what generally the one-line understanding, one-line description of ease of entry. How easily can the product or service be substitutes, especially cheaper? So there may be, you are trying to produce a product and there may be similar products outside, and what is the threat levels? How easy the customers can switch to the substitutes, which has an impact on your product or service. How strong the position of buyers? Right? Can they work together to order large volumes? Are there many? Are there one? So what's the impact the buyers could create on your product and services? Similarly, on the other side, how strong the position of sellers? Are there many? Only few? So is there a monopoly? What's the terms of trade? So like that from the supplier's perspective. Finally, strong competition between existing players. Or it's a one player, few players, many players. If it is so, it's a price war. It's non-price marketing. So those are the things that we need to understand in a given market. So very important slides for exam and a summary as well. So this again could be through a diagram. This is the kind of diagram. This is the explanation. So in case this is the the examiner's perspective, what could be the kind of a question that we can get? Could be what is 5 forces, briefly described, list down with the explanation. So all that you can provide with these 2 slides. Fine. Any questions before moving to each item? Anything if you do, anything if you've found out, or any further clearance up to now before we go into the each and individual attribute? Okay, it's not difficult, but we'll understand. Right. Now, when you say new entrants, barriers to entry, we talk about. What do you mean? Let's say you are running a business, and there may be a few similar people who run the same or related business. And then while you are doing this business, there may be a chance a new person could come and try to do the same thing. Let's say you are running an IT company, you are running a dispensary, you are running a restaurant, you are running a boutique shop. So if there is any, another person can come and do this sort of thing, it's what we are interested in, right? So in order to understand that, there may be few features, right? There may be few components to understand this phenomena. First one is economies of scale. What is the economies of scale? Let's say a company is producing, we'll say nails, 100,000 number of nails, right? For within, we'll say, week per week, be 100,000, so 400,000 per month. That's what your level of operation. Let's say now you're operating in this way, so probably there are other players also who produce like maybe 50,000, 60,000, like that. So all are like level playing, but different market segments are there. But when you think about new person coming into the operation, he should be able to manage this economies of scale. Because since that you have been in the business, you have your skilled employees, you have the infrastructure setup support, the machinery, and all that, you are in a position to produce 100,000 per week. But local company may not be easy to come and do the same within a very short period, because this needs bit of economies of scale. But let's say Chinese company want to come to Sri Lanka with a joint venture, but if you think about the Chinese company, their production at maybe China could be 1 million per week. In that sense, they means they have the old technology and everything is there, and just to come something here, I mean to say only for the economies of scale, right? There may be other things that we can discuss about capital and all that. But when you say that in terms of economies of scale only, the Chinese company can easily compete with the local counterparts because they produce 1 million per week. At least if they replicate the operations here, obviously they might be doing say 250 per week easily. Means their economies of scale is far greater than the local companies, right? I take two examples. If you take a local company coming into the operation, may not be easy because 100,000 is the market leader is doing, whereas the other guy is doing 50, 60,000. New guys to come here may not be feasible in Sri Lankan context. But if the foreign company having that economies of scale achieved very easily, can come and do the operation in terms of economies of scales is concerned. There are other factors that we need to worry about, but if you think about economies of scales alone, that might not be a big task. So you understand what is economies of scale, because being in the business for a long, every facility things are in place. So about learning curve to employee skills, knowledge, know-how, systems, everything is there. So you are up in the set pyramid. Easily you can manage or achieve these economies of scales of the industry. That's what the economies of scales mean. Product differentiation is another item, a component that you need to understand in terms of barriers to entry. To what extent the firm's product are distinct and non-copyable. So new firms will not be able to come in and take away customers. So how easy or difficult to copy, to replicate the firm's product and services. You understand? Let's say you are, trying to produce the same sort of product, like vanilla type of product, which is easily copyable. Let's say you are trying to do, say, some brand will come later, say school textbooks, like, right? So the single rule, the double rule kind of thing. Then many people are doing it, right? But if there is no such brand or product, a sort of brand name for that, then anybody can do that, right? Anybody can do that, right? So anybody can, do the single rule, double rule, or whatever, and come to the market and get a fair share of the market. It's not a big task, difficult task, right? But let's say you are doing something software, you are producing something about some input like manufacturing, say mold to maybe shoe manufacturing industry, right? Or some other Medicare, for example. So that may be a kind of unique product, right? So may not be easy to somebody to copy it and do it, because it's been a bit of unique, right? And so that is must for the next product to be completed. So in that sense, it is not easy to somebody to just to copy and do it within a day or two, like overnight. So there is a product differentiation we talk about. The brand is also very important tool. Important means, like, if the people are touch with your brand on your service or the product, so it's very difficult to change to another product. Let's say you are using Apple phone, you're using Samsung phone, right? So then probably like a Honda car versus the rest, like, so then you have a passion, you have an desire to use Apple phone. After this, so again you go for the next sort of model, right? So means that you have a brand identity towards that. Then how much the other phones are available in the market, so probably you are not thinking about, no, Apple is good, right? So I don't want to switch it, like. So that's a brand identity. So very difficult for some new guy to come and take you out of this product or service. Switching cost, that means the fourth one, where how easy or difficult to switch from here to here. Maybe a computer, particular operating system, and then, so whether that if I am moving to this, how much is cost? It's a huge cost or a smaller cost. The huge cost, I'm not thinking about moving to another software, but this is open source software, so I might go and do that experiment. That's what the switching cost is. Let's say computer virus card, so maybe switching cost is nil, I mean nothing. So you will have something this period, and next year you might switch it to something else. So what it means, it basically tells you, the switching cost is lower, there is a chance of new entrants to come in to the business and capture your market. The switching cost is higher, very difficult for a new customer to come, new entrants to come and take out your customers. So that's basically are some of the barriers to entry we are talking about. Economies of scales, product differentiation, brand identification, switching cost. Right? So any questions here? Do you have any questions to I understand here? Any ambiguity? Right, may not be difficult, but just to understand, there are so many other things also you can bring it. I have taken only 4 points. Similarly, that in case if you want to have a detailed answer for exam for 5 marks questions, so you need to be ready with that, at least those 4 sub-questions, sub-topics, sub-items. Then the second one is the industry competition, existing players who are going to compete with each other. So that all depends on one people dominating the industry, a few people like oligopoly, or many people in the like perfect competition market. So that's we need to understand how many members, how many people, how many competitors in the market. So let's say the first one, concentration and balance among the competitors, means that to the extent that there is no single large competitor, the firm is better off. What it means. Now, if there is like a one single like monopoly type of competitor, then you may not be in a position to make a good money. But if you have like a number of people and fair share among each other, so then you have a fair chance of achieving your businesses. What I'm telling is, let's say, with a new person having say 80% of the total market share, then there will be 20% for the rest of the competitors. May not be easy you to do the business, because anytime the single largest person can throw you out doing different things, right? Maybe price dump, or maybe sending some additional stock to the market, or suddenly withhold the kind of a stock to the market. So many things that he or she can do if the one guy is dominating. But a number of guys are there, then there is a fair share, so you don't have a bigger problem in assessing the competition or operating the market. Second one, industry growth. If the industry is growing, then less pressure on the players. Why? Because let's say now you have industry or market is growing at 10%, 15% year on year, then obviously we have a market to play. But if the industry is stagnated or industry is shrinking, then the competition is going to increase, because 10 players, let's say market is 100 customers. So next year 100 going to 150. Yes, 10 guys have now, instead of 10 focus customers, now I have 15 customers. What happened? 100 becomes 75. Then instead of I have 10, I have to focus on 7.5. So I need to penetrate other people's market if I want to survive. Shrinking, bigger problem. Growing, better chances. That's what say industry growth. Product differentiation. If the products are differentiated, markets are in the sense segmented, and there's no competition. What it means, let's say now you are a person who produce say toothpaste, but in general there are so many people producing toothpaste, but you are trying to sell toothpaste to a particular segment, say elders, kids, youth, adults, even rather medication, or maybe so different segments, right? So for sure that though there may be toothpaste market, there may be 10, 15 competitors, but I am focusing on above 60 health conscious, kids health conscious, or maybe other diseases health side, medication purposes. Then there may not many competitors who are doing the same thing. So you can manage your market. Irrespective saying, say, we do washing powder, we do washing like soap. So then everybody is focused in the general market. Then there may be a bigger competition. But when you say a product is differentiated or service is differentiated to the niche, to the selected market or the client segment, so probably you have a better chance of surviving. So here, as point number 2, we are discussing industry competition, rivalry among competitors. So how thick the competition is, depending on concentration, industry growth, product differentiation. There are three things that I have discussed. So now we have discussed two items, right? New entrants and the competition among existing players. Any questions from your end before we are moving to the next? Fine. Then we move to the third one. Bargaining power of suppliers. Bargaining power of suppliers. What is that? Bargaining power of suppliers. It is all about how we are going to handle suppliers. There are several attributes is going to decide this bargaining power. First one, number of important suppliers, right? How many suppliers? Importance to your business. Fewer important suppliers, then more power they have over the firm, and greater their ability to extract reduces surplus. What it means? Let's say you have key suppliers and 2 or 3. Then you have to depend on their suppliers, pricing, terms of trade, delivery time, quality, so many things. If they, try to withdraw suddenly, you may be in trouble. If they try to increase the pricing, you may be in trouble. So what you could do to avoid that is possibly you can enter into some agreements with those suppliers. Could be 2 to 3 years with some terms agreed, right, to quality, the durability ensured. So you can do those things. So means important suppliers, number and the importance, right? Then otherwise, if you have many number of suppliers, then you are less dependent on them. You can anytime move to one supplier to another supplier because there are a number of suppliers are out there. So that we need to decide in generally in your market, few or big, large number, or important, less important. That's what generally you need to understand. That's number one. Second one, availability of substitutes for the supplier's products. Let's say now you are trying to get some products as raw material to your company manufacturing process. Now you can find out, instead of using the raw material A, you can use some raw material B, which is a substitute to this one. If there is a substitute product to the supplier's products, then their power could come down. That's another point. Third one, differentiation of switching cost. Let's say now you are trying to get some mold done from a supplier. The mold is, you have been invested heavily, or you or the supplier, you know that if you want to do your shoes as expected or maybe as demanded by the clients, you need to get the same sort of base from the particular supplier. Why? He is the only guy having that mold. If you want to switch from supplier A to supplier B, then there's a higher switching cost because the initial cost of having the mold done could be higher. You can't switch from the supplier to supplier because switching cost is high. Then what could happen here is the new guy would charge more if you are going to switch it. Why? Because it's a new model, investment on the new mold, which have some cost implications. So switching cost is high or low will tell you how easy or difficult to switch. The fourth one, supplier threat of forward integration. What is that? You are trying to source the raw material to WIP to whatever half-done materials to products from supplier A. And then you try to do it and do some value addition and sell your end users. However, now the suppliers might think about, why should I give a raw products to a companies? Can't I acquire a manufacturing company and start my production there? So they try to come into supplier, come into the manufacturing saga. So they basically supplier, manufacturer, a customer. Supplier can come and operate here. Like a forward integration we call. They go to the forward and acquire, they do manufacturing. Then they become a competitor to me, because so far what I have been doing was get the raw material done, I do the manufacturing and sell. Now instead, they provide raw material to me, they acquire a similar company and they do manufacturing now, so we are become competitors. So these are the 4 areas that we need to be aware with to understand the bargaining power of suppliers.
Sir, excuse me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand the supplier threat of forward integration. Is it like Cargill's purchasing Kotmale milk and doing the sales at Cargill's outlets while they are doing sales for Happy Cow and other dairy products?
Not exactly. I mean, rather than purchasing the product, Ravi, let's say Cargill is not the clear, exact example, because Cargill is in the supermarket kind of thing. So let's say, yes, Cargill also can do to this extent. Let's say now instead of Cargill getting maybe yogurt from CIC example and
Okay.
sell, Cargills have another company to produce milk product, curd, yogurt, dairy products. They will have another company. Then what happens? They will compete with CIC in terms of curd, in terms of dairy products, yogurt.
Okay, sir.
Right? So Cargills right now what they do is they purchase curd to, milk to, dairy products to, and whatever yogurt from other companies, and they sell it. Instead, Cargill form another company in addition to the supermarket. Now they do a similar operations like CIC example, dairy products manufacturing. So they get fresh milk and do yogurt here. And obviously it's a threat to the rest manufacturing firms who are in the yogurt manufacturing business, a dairy processing business. Is it clear, Avin?
Clear, sir.
Yeah, that's how the forward integration is. If you take you as example, so you might, let's say, doing some garments, for example, or you do some, say, what do you call, say, furniture manufacturing. And then you provide that to, let's say, garments to Odell, furniture manufacturing, let's say, some interior company. Now what you're going to do is, instead of doing that, you will start the interior company. And you go and take the orders, the manufacturing of timber, the products and all that. Now you do you alone under that interior company. Instead, you do and give it to another company and they will market as their product. Here, you do, you market, you do the operations. That's how. In Odell example, instead given to the Odell, you have your own company through internet. Now you sell different garments attire to get a higher margin. Now Odell doesn't have you. Why? Because you are no more supplying to Odell, because you forwardly integrated and now you enter into the consumer market. You get good margins, higher margin. Odell lose you as a supplier because you integrated forwardly, you become an equal player compared to now Odell. Because same quality, instead of Odell logo, you have your RT logo, Ravin Tennakon. But that goes better because the cost and everything could be lower compared to the Odell, because you have enough margin. Otherwise, you have 10-15% margin to the Odell and they will have another 30. So technically 45% margin on the end product. But here you can have 25% margin through internet. You have a better clientele giving the quality of your product. That's why the forwardly integrated concept, right? Bargaining power of clients, customers. What is that? That's the other side of the story. Supplier, manufacturer, a customer. So you produce, you sell, out there a clientele, and now you try to see bargaining power from the customer is low or high. Number of important buyers, what is that? Let's say you have a few important clients out there. Then you are dependent on their purchase, their terms. Let's say you are exporting your garments, say UK or US. Only 2 or 3 companies are the buyers. If they say no, if they say delay, if they say quality kind of thing, if they reduce the order, have impact on you, because you are too much dependent on this 1 or 2 guys. Obviously you get higher margins, but since you are dependent on 1 or 2 guys, you are at risk. But vice versa, if you have number of buyers out there, no issue, right? Whether client A purchases or not, it's not an issue. B is there. If B is not getting there, C is there, like a boutique shop. There may be some customers who are regular, but generally a passerby can come and purchase something, which is they're not the regular customers. Many, maybe 1,000 guys are there to purchase the goods from your boutique shop. So the number of important is one, number of buyers is another. If the number of buyers are high, less bargaining from the customer. The number of buyers are less, higher power from the client. Number of important buyers are few, higher bargaining. Number of important buyers are less, lower bargaining power from those guys. 5. Then second one, availability substitutes for the industry products. The impact of this on price elasticity of demand for the industry's products is obvious. Like now, let's say you produce something and similar to that, substitutes are available. Then what happens? There is a higher risk on that. Let's say you produce rice, you are doing restaurant, you do rice only, morning, afternoon, evening, or whatever. Night, day, morning, rice products. But in the market, there are substitutes to the rice. I'm finished rice, I am saying, rice packs. Then what could happen here is a client can easily switch from your fried rice to hoppers, fried rice to kottu. So then if the availability of substitutes are higher the number, a variety, then there may be a risk from buyers losing from your product. Third one, switching cost. Buyers are there, but it is not easy for them to switch from your product to another product, like software. Then obviously, bargaining power is less. But the switching cost is minimal. Anytime they can, come to you to go to another producer, then higher bargaining power in terms of clients because you are at a losing end. The last one is the threat of backward integration. What is that? Similar, the suppliers come in and doing the forward. Here, the distribution company, they will try to do the manufacturing. What they are trying to do is they get something and they distribute, for example, to clients. Instead, they think, why should I always purchase the finished goods? Why can't I do manufacturing? So I purchase a company who is good at manufacturing, called a backward integration. So in that sense, the distributor acquire a manufacturing company and start manufacturing means it's an issue for you because you do only manufacturing. Now you lose customers. Earlier what happened? You give this thing to distributor and they sell it for you. End user customers are ensured through this distribution company. Now this distribution company not purchasing from you. They do own manufacturing, they target their market. So you lose the customers. That's a backward integration. That's a threat from buyers. Those are the 4 things that we can discuss in terms of bargaining power of client. The last one, a substitute, availability of substitutes in the market. Availability of close substitutes, user switching cost, substitutes produces profitability and aggressiveness in the market. So where is the substitute product located on the price value dimensions are key factors to be taken note of. You know that, yes, you do so many things and then there may be market out there and the products, services which can be substitute to your product, your service. That depends on these parameters. How readily available, what's the switching cost, frequency, easy, difficult, and how well the substitutes products producer targeting their products and services in the market, what's his marketing campaign. So then obviously you have some impact if they are doing better than you. Then what's the value addition, features, the pricing of the substitute product, which could have an impact. So these are the 5 things, 5 forces that we need to understand. Important in market competition. Understand the competition. So any questions out of these 5 before we move further? Any questions?
Sir, if we do have to answer a question like this,
Right.
do we need to have some examples as well?
It depends, Rachini. Let's say if the question comes about, the first one could be, so what do you understand by the Porter's 5 forces model, and discuss briefly. Then you have to say Porter's 5 forces model is this one, and then it's try to do a competitive environment, and it's important to value a firm, so get an future cash flow generation. So like that, 1 or 2, 3 points to say this general question. That's number 1. Then they might ask, maybe what are the components of the Porter's 5 forces model. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That could be another list. List and briefly explain. That may be the say each one and do one line. Fourth question could be, let's say they might take substitutes available and then explain that. This is how, what's the question that you have asked. You can write 1, 2, 3, 4 with some examples. That's great, because not many students are going to write the examples like what we have discussed. So you can create your example and write it. Let's say when you say substitutes, easily you can take tea versus coffee. So it's a general example. It's a nice example to explain what substitute is. Right? When you say forward integration, backward integration, you can say maybe the producer supplier acquiring a manufacturing company, or maybe a distributor acquiring a manufacturing company. Maybe you can quote example, or you can say generally. That's what the forward integration is. Or as we discussed, maybe the yogurt manufacturer, so curd manufacturer, dairy processing can be started by a manufacturer or processing of dairy. Instead of purchasing from farmer, so he can collect and he can start that operation. So like that, you can give an example. Good that if you can put a 1 or 2 examples, not always, at least say 1 example when you are going to detail a description of the particular force. Is it clear, Rajini?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Right. Okay. The last question could be, he might give us a particular example, business, and to apply the Porter's 5 forces model, which we are trying to do in a little while, like we have done last 2 weeks, kind of example, and we try to do it. So that could be the 5th one. I mean, so far we haven't seen that that question to great levels, but it's in one occasion we have seen that the application. So that's the 5th question that we can expect. Maybe he might give IT company, he might give a boutique shop, he might give a restaurant, he might give a medical, say, laboratory, and then to apply Porter's 5 forces model and to see the competition, right? The impact, right? So based on the information, that's what the last question that he can give us. Before moving to that, so we will sum up this. This is again about the importance of the Porter's 5 forces model. It's now we have looked at the environment and its assets. We need to look at the firm strategy within the environment and how this relates to other parties identified in 5 forces model. We must keep in mind, however, that our objective is not to craft a new strategy for the firm, but rather to appreciate its current and potential strategy on forecasting future cash flows, evaluating investment risk. So basically, why we are trying to do this? Because we wanted to see how the competition would impact on this company, on the loan proposal. So the company is coming and asking a loan. It's a project loan. So you will analyze all other areas, including the market, when you want to understand the market potential. So the competition is one of the key. So hence that we use a different models to understand the competition. That we have done. So based on that, you will say this is a high risk market, low risk market, medium risk market, or high risk, high competitive, low competitive, averagely competitive. So based on that, you need to have your strategies done. Then you can say my investment risk, if it's a high risk market, highly competitive, so possibly I have a higher risk on reaching my goals. And then my cash flows, my future income could be impacted on these areas. So I need to sensitize my cash flows in terms of competition, highly competitive. So I can't have maybe double my turnover next 2-3 years. So I need to go slow, maybe 10%, 15% growth in line with the market growth. But if I am a guy that who is having the monopoly, no issue. So I can, make 25% year-on-year growth because it's my market. So like that, you need to understand how I am going to forecast my sales plan, cash flow plan. Based on that, what is my investment risk? What's how much that I can earn, I will lose or not, whether to invest or not, will all depend on how competitive the market is. That's all about, the Porter's 5 horses model and how we are trying to understand the market in terms of competition. So any questions? Any questions? Samindri, Tanya, Roshni, Praveen?
No, sir, all clear.
Okay, right, fine. So then what we'll do is, we will, like last week, we'll quickly do a familiarization exercise. So we can say select a medium size restaurant, eating house, like say Pereira and Sons, for example. You can assume that you are in an area like maybe Colombo suburb, maybe Nuke to Talapatu to Battaramul, and so there may be a new person, client is coming and asking a loan about 2 to 3 million to start a restaurant. So probably they might offer all sort of meals to rice to kottu and all that to clients. And then you may assume that in a 5 kilometer radius that you might have at least 3 to 4 such guys. I mean, the type of the restaurant that you are going to have it, there may be obviously upper type of hotels and all that, but they are not your competitors. They are targeting to different markets, but you are into a middle size average income clientele that is your target market. Right. So now you have identified. Again, you can have some further assumptions onto that. And then what we are trying to do is, now you are a project officer. The client coming and asking a project proposal, asking a loan, maybe part he is investing, part you are going to invest. So you are happy with all other, and then you want to assess the competition out there. So what you could do is, you have 5 rows developed. First one, substitutes, bargaining power supplier, bargaining of consumer, like 1, 2, 3, 4 in this side. And then you have 3 columns. You will take high, medium, low. Highly competitive or high risk, averagely competitive or medium risk, low competitive or low risk. So high, medium, low, high risk, medium risk, low risk. So now we have 3 columns and 5 rows. So what you could do is take maybe the first attribute and assume what could be the competitive levels. If we take suppliers, think about the restaurant generally. How many suppliers, key is important, or any issues with them, whether like the parameters we discussed. And based on that, if the competition, the bargaining power is high, then you say high risk. Bargaining power is low, you put low risk. Bargaining power is medium, you can put medium. So like that, you can plot that. There are 3 columns, 5 rows, there are 15 quadrants. Right? For each row, you have 1 asterisk, 1 cross. So I have 5 crosses for all 5. Then based on that, let's say if everything come in high, we say highly competitive. If everything come in the low, we'll say low competition. It's maybe medium to high, then it's average competitive. So take some 15 minutes with you, among you, and try to come up with the competitiveness of the particular market. You can now start. If you have any questions, yes, you can raise it while you doing the exercise. Please start. If it is not anything clear, just ask. So each of you can do it alone, and then we will discuss as a team. Item by item, we will go, and maybe it's depend on some assumption. So based on that assumption, you can say it's high, medium, or low. But generally, we can have some common idea about the competition. So here we talk about a medium-sized restaurant, eating house in a Colombo suburb area, where the clientele are average middle-income earners, and in 5-kilometer radius, there are 4 to 5 such eating houses, restaurants already available. Right, that's a kind of question of the case study. Further, you can assume some more, and then start whether the competition is high, medium, or low, high risk, medium, or low, medium, no low, as against the 5 attributes of the Porter's hypothesis model. Yes, let's start. You can take one by one, right? Let's say the first line, maybe first attribute, and assess what is the information available in the case study, and assume some more, and see whether under each attribute, maybe so many suppliers, key important suppliers, switching costs, so and so forth, and then decide whether that will have an impact on the particular proposed outlet, and the competition is high, the medium, the low, like that. So you can assume in that way. Then go to the next attribute. Now, what's the first attribute you selected?
Barriers to entry.
Barriers to entry, right. So now just think about, this is a kind of a small restaurant, average size restaurant, total investment about, he's asking about 2 to 3 million, maybe 3 to 4 million. And then there are maybe 3 to 4 guys in the close vicinity to a 5-kilometer radius. So how do you think? Whether barriers to entry is very high, very low, average? How do you think? Just because based on the examples only, yes, we can think, right? Yes, Ravi, please.
Low.
Low. Rachini, what do you think?
I think it's high, sir.
You think it's high. Okay. Roshni, Tanya, Isuru, Samindri? Samindri is also telling high. Tanya telling high.
High, sir.
Roshni also you're telling high. Right. Let me think about in this way. Why do you think about, why do you say it's high? What's, when you are thinking about a process that, put in a outlet like, Pereira and Son type, or maybe a similar set of eating house. So how difficult or how easy is in today's context?
Since he's new, he can't use economies of scale.
Mm-hmm.
And he can't use the product differentiation at the initiative.
Mm-hmm.
And also he's not into the brand identifications. Still he's not into the market. And for the switching cost is vary depending on the material that he's using, but totally it's on high level, I guess.
Right. So points are taken. Now the think about, the model. Here we talk about restaurant, right? Or maybe eating house. So let's say how now you need to think about how it's going to operate as well. Like let's say this barriers to entry means now if it is something that the new person is having some money, for example, now here total investment we talk about 2 to 3 million, right? Maybe having placed rented at easily, and even the equipment and all that you can be hired even at a rent right now, and then you can start something about credit basis, suppliers provide you something, right? So there may not be very high investment on in terms of putting up the outlet. First one. Second one, I agree what you mentioned about the brand and all that, but here think about the product. It's like we talk about average consumer, middle income earners. Are they very much thinking about the brand identification? Are they very much thinking about the what you call switching cost? Or they think about something convenience, location, or they think about basically appearance, product, whatever quality? What do they think? Is it like a very difficult task to come and have that in operation within a week or so. I might say this is not very high, this is not very low, but I might say it's a bit of medium. The think at a rate, the restaurants and everything is coming and going. If you think that it's very high investment, will the people will, come and start these operations regularly? I mean, in general understanding. Those days, yes, it could be difficult, but in today's context, we have everything in everything is with easy access. About even the whatever the equipment in a restaurant is now, even you can take on lease basis, right? And about that so many things you can have it without any difficulty. Maybe you can hire a good place at a reasonable price, and even the cost here is not very high. I was telling about in terms of initial cost also, right? If it is a hotel, obviously may not be easy, but it's a restaurant. Even we talk about a mid income earners focused restaurant. But if you are trying to do something about McDonald's kind of thing, yes, you need licensing kind of requirement. But here, even we talk about lower that, right? So basically, the sum factors when you are taking into account in the context of the product, service, customer preferences. If you think these days, many clients are now willing to buy products, services frequently from these eating houses. And when you take economies of scale, Rachini, only the issue here is he may not be coming and targeting a top player, but he can sell it something about, say, instead, for example, rice packs, the market, whatever, out of the 5, including this guy, maybe selling 200 packs. But this guy may not be selling these 200 packs, starting with 50, starting with 60, because he tried to maintain that margin. Why I'm telling is because there are ample customers out there to come and purchase these items, right? But only thing is, yeah, there is a competition among the existing players with the new guy coming in, because here it's like more or less you can't differentiate much, because maybe yes, to some extent you can have the packing and all that, but still customer prefers the ambience and all that. So those things that you need to be creative bit of investment. So then that's why I'm not putting this very low, very high. It could be something a medium range, right? So anything that you can suggest or give feedback. I mean, there are many people who mention high. Basically, you go in by maybe attributes, but take the investment size and investment climate, infrastructure availability, and the customer preferences. So this is not a kind of the big deal that the one can enter the market. Let's say if you have something about 2 to 3 million, can't you start a eating house in today's context? I think you can, because you can hire most of those things rather than you outright purchase. That is being facilitated by many, the sherry bakeries and all that. So there are companies who can, give these on easy payment, this infrastructure like that. Only thing is you might have to find a place to, good place with whatever ambience and transport, the parking and all that. So that's what the requirements. But I mean, it's not a huge investment. Maybe maximum 5 million would do. But there are, enough guys, enough people who can invest 5 million. Even a bigger hotel, they can, have put a small sort of restaurant to cater the mid-market, not the up-market. So then easily somebody can and replicate the model. So we never know who will come and operate, but the environment is not so bad to operate that type of investment proposition. So averagely we can say, taking whatever the impacts, it's not high, it's not low, it's something about medium risk. Is it clear, Rachini?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what's the next point that we have taken? Bargaining power of suppliers. Is that? Ravini, what's the next point? Attribute?
Industry competition.
Right. Industry competition. How do you map that, Rachini? High, medium, low?
A bit on average, medium.
Yeah, medium, right? What the others think? Because again, we need to assume the environment, maybe 3 to 4 in 5-kilometer radius, people are, have a higher preference of, buying these things, from these outlets, and different products, rice to kottu to, and everything is available, right? You can't say it's very high, the competition, because you can't, you can't price very high and go to the market. You can't, put a very low price and, sell without hygiene. You can't sell it. So basically, so each is trying to offer this through maybe the brand, through offering, ambience, delivery, online delivery, takeaways, and bit of AC environment. So those things. But for that, you need to have a bit of competition among players, but which is not very high, which is not very low, because you can't say low because there are 3-4 guys available. You can't say very high because not many, maybe 10 people are not there. So about 4 to 5. So about 5-kilometer radius. So it's an averagely competitive market. It's a medium. Next point. Ravin, what's the next point? Rachini, what's the next point? Suppliers, bargaining power of suppliers.
Yes, sir.
Right. What do you think there? Low, medium, high?
I thought it's high due to the other competitors are available.
Okay. What about Ravin? Samindri? Tanya, Roshni, what do you think?
Suppliers are low, sir, because you can purchase the goods at anywhere in a low cost, because the number of suppliers are high.
High, okay. What about others? Yeah, Samindri was telling low. Rachini, again, high. Roshni, Tanya, Jodi, Isuru, what do you think? How do you pitch this? Roshni, please, answer, because then it's a varying idea. That's good, so that we can have a discussion, because otherwise, then I just want to know whether you have understand the concepts. It's very subjective, but with the data available, yes, you can. But you need to, apply this in a way that, yeah, Tanya coming with low.
Low, sir.
Low, okay. What about Padbendra, Judy?
It's low, sir.
Low, right, very good. Right, yes, I must also say not a bit of low, but I say low medium kind of. Why I'm telling, not obviously actually high. Here, basically, when you talk about suppliers, yes, there are, as many of you have pointed out, many suppliers, right? You can easily, switch and you can get. But only thing is, when you are in a restaurant, so the people in the end users, they basically look after, they look for the quality of the product. So then, when you are trying to purchase, let's say, vegetable to fish to meats to, and from outsiders, like, switching the suppliers, then you need to at least to establish a proper input. So maybe if the meat guy is now today is no more, and then you go to another one, and probably you need to have a weight on the new guy's quality, durability, timely, those things. So hence that you need to have at least some sort of agreement, some comfort over the suppliers. Though there are many suppliers, you can, you can't easily switch from one to another. You understand? So basically that might have an impact to your product, your quality, offerings, service levels, and all that. So hence I must say it's not low, but it's a bit of low medium, right? It's closer to the medium, right? Not obviously high, not very low. It could be something about, low, medium, right? So it's near to the medium, because we need to have some sort of understanding and the dependence on at least some few suppliers. Not all. Maybe there may be good suppliers who are good at timely and quality supplies. So you need to be work with them, because you have a dependence on some. You can't easily replicate maybe one guy from another, because dependent on what you are offering is. Hope you are agreeing with me. Then what about the bargaining power of buyers? Bargaining power of buyer. High, medium, low. Think about 4-5 outlets, 5-kilometer radius. People prefer to come. Yes, medium, Rachini. Yes, prefer to go and medium, come and buy. Right. Yeah, I think we can go with the medium, because you can't say low, you can't say high also, right? Because there is a sizable impact from the buyers, at least, because if you are a new guy that you are going to open up, and then you need to have some dependence on the buyers also, because you have to have some other aspects catered. Infrastructure and everything should be available, and then the buyers, again, they come with the family and all that, so they need the kind of ambient environment, and a bit of product quality, service quality, right? If not, they might move to another, right? So maybe a variety of the things that they're expecting. So hence that it's could be identified as medium. The last one, substitutes. High, medium, low. Availability of substitutes. Medium.
Low, sir.
Low. Tanya, Roshni, Samindri, medium to high. Tanya, Roshni. Medium, right. Why do you say, Ravin, you say low? Availability of substitutes, I mean, it's you mean to say there are substitutes are very low outside? Or hence the competition is low?
The price from the price side, so it's low, right? Because sometimes, because to keep Pereira and Sons brand, they keep high price, but to gain the market, the newcomer might reduce the price, right? So the prices might be low, as well as normally it's a middle income earners, and they don't go for brand or any other thing, right? And the switching cost is so low, right? Because the food is something experience all the people are required. So for experience, they won't go for a price or the profitability. Of course, there be effect, but overall the threat of substitutes products are low.
Okay. Rachini, you have any other idea on this? What exactly, when you say substitutes, what we need to prominently look into, Ravin, is the availability of substitutes. That's what the number one, and then you can come to the other also. But Rachini, you say medium. Why?
So there are many more substitutes. As Ravin said, the switching cost is low, but we need to find out the end user quality as well. So since this is a new entrant, he is not going to the high substitutes as well as not for the low. He needs to tackle up with the other market as well. So I thought it in that way, and he's first of all, with going for the substitute, he might be think where the substitute is stand now itself among with the others.
Right. Yes, I agree. I think, Ravin, yes, your point is also correct. But when you think about this, the food with, the people coming with experience and all that, since the, availability of substitutes, for example, are, with other, we can assume they all like 3 or 4 available outlets, there are, substitutes available to what, this guy is offering. For example, if this is offering, let's say, rice, for example, and then there may be, the substitute for the rice in terms of many other products. Plus, there may be substitutes even through the supermarket and the other non sort of restaurants also offering a kind of the foods or similar services to the clients. Then there are substitutes are available in the market to great extent. That's one. So means that there are higher substitutes available, then we can say it's high. But again, coming to what Rachini mentioned, and you also mentioned about, this is a market where, the people are not, go for the brand, or maybe not a kind of a bigger sort of switching cost experience. Then it's something that that you can, further lower the threat of the substitute, because since everything is available, then the people think about other factors also, about, a bit of environment too, and how they are putting their packaging to, all other things also there, because a bit of other attributes will come and factor when you are thinking about the substitute factor. So then it's not high, obviously. Then if you go for the low side, in order to become low, then we need to say that this new guy is having everything compared to the market, which is, again, may not be possible. It's a new entry, new person with the kind of the initial investment. He might have some products, but not all the products as in the market, like maybe from bun to rice to kottu to hoppers, and everything might not be feasible at any given time. But he might to do some introduce, because there are so many customers out there, at least to match the customer requirement. So then you can't say low also. So you assume in between, like a medium, right? Maybe since new, and so he might not be able to provide everything which is available in the market, means it's not low. And then you can't say high in the sense, because it's anyway he's coming to the restaurant market, he needs to come up with at least some products which are available in the market, also kind of a substitute as well. Then it's not high. So it could be, ideally we can assume as medium. So that's how I think we will map it there. But again, I'm telling, this is the kind of exercise that we try to do with limited information. In a practical sense, you might have a better information than what we mentioned here, because then you exactly know what's happening out there, what's a market. You might have done some piloting, right? So those things also, you have the information. So all in all, right, now we have done a kind of some fair exercise among us. So based on that, I think not many lows, many highs. Most things are medium pitch. So then we can say the market competition is like averagely placed, or medium type of medium, again, like average competitive market is out there for a mid-size or the small restaurant operation. So that's what the conclusion is. Right. Anything from your end to add, or any feedback which you think about to better for the other participants? Okay, right. So I presume that you have and get an idea on basically on the Porter's five forces model. So what I just wanted to tell you is like there are 4 tools that we are planning to discuss here, which is the last one. I think it's not very important, but we'll rush through. I mean, given some idea, because it has not been in the syllabus or been tested so far. But SWOT analysis, PESTEL, and the Porter's five forces are very important, critical, and has been tested in quite some time. So again, could be tested in future also. Now you know what are those models and how we are applying practically as the 5th question. So every time there may be a chance that examiner would give us an example to deploy this tool and get sort of more practical approach, right? Hope it's clear with you. And if you have anything, yes, you can let me know, and you can refer one of the past papers recently, maybe 3 years back or so. Now they have asked about what is short pestle differences, contrast and compare, and to give a kind of some example using the pestle, Porter's 5 forces model. So I think you can do that question as well, because we have done it in the class, but you can do it separately when you are referring the past papers, right? So if you don't have any questions, so we can move to the next area. Now please let me know if anything that you need to clear on this, right, while I am uploading the last one. Right, hope you can see the screen. It's basically BCG growth, or the BCG share matrix that we are trying to understand here. Again, this is like product life cycle, or yes, but this again we are trying to understand where our the products, or where our markets are located in terms of when we take a decision. So basically, this is what basically we are trying to do: history, matrix construction, strategy recommendation, and evaluation of the tool. So I will straight away take these two, because these are the two important parts. History, that you can just read out the first slide. This is how it basically try to construct. Basically, it's internally and externally, they try to take two parameters: market share, market growth. Market share is basically, we'll say, firm's sales, total average sales of the market. So we'll say that's our market share. Or maybe firm sales as against the main competitor share. So either way, you can say this is the market share that we arrived. The other column, other axis, is the market growth, the growth of the market. So those are like, if you remember earlier also, industry growth is important. Industry share, market share is important, because whatever you are trying to do, if the market is not growing, then you need to think about whether to enter the market, to grow the market, invest further on the market. Right? If the market is growing, yes, then we have to take different strategies. Right? So based on these parameters, right? So they will take two axes, that vertical and horizontal axis. So we'll straight away go to the graph. This is like what? If you take this graph, this is most important one, where you have in one axis Y, it's a growth. Here we talk about share. Market share high, market share low. Market share high, market share low. Market growth low, market growth high. Based on that, your products in a firm can be categorized into 4 quadrants: stars, dogs, question marks, cows. So every product, service in a firm can be categorized into 4 quadrants based on market share and market growth. Based on this, we try to take some actions on each product and service in terms of future further investment. So as a banker, what is important for you is, if the company is coming and asking about a loan, about a financing facility, you may be interested to know the product proposition, product mix, service mix of the firm, and at which stage those products and services are operated. Based on that, the company can take some recommendation and strategies could be adopted. You also oversee those things. So if you think about, the company is doing well in terms of strategizing, the products, probably you might releasing the financing. It could be if you are thinking about more in terms of, say, cows, that you will understand the recommendation could be more working capital type of financing. And if you're thinking about dogs and the stars, that could be more investment related you are thinking about, because the future you can get more. If you focus more on cows, that's about at present you are focusing more. So at present, then the financing strategy on working capital. The future financing proposition focus could be capex. Like that, you also can think some strategies adopted by the company. What is right, what is wrong. That is mainly on market share and market growth matrix. Product services can be categorized into 4 areas. So based on that, you can say high, low, high, low. If let's say if you take here, market growth is high, market share is high, then we say stars. If the market share is low but growth is there, it's a question mark. If both are low, it's dogs. But market share high, the growth is low, then we say cows. So like that, we will take 1 or 2 and see what the strategy we can give to the company. The company is adopting. So star means both are high. Investment is in terms of capex, or in terms of working capital to some extent, further growth. Maintain the market position, because at a high level you need to keep them, but you invest further to capture, grow the market. Cash flows, what are cash flows? They need not to be funded, because they are self-sustained, because they are generating cash, because they are at a high level. They generate cash, and that cash can be used for the further investment. And also, it can be given cash flows from the other units. Like cash cows, they generate cash, but they are not growing. Then that cash could be applied to stars, because further growth. They are the future of the company, because stars will make the company up or down. But sometime later, they could move to the cash cows, because they can't continuously grow. They can't continuously have the market share. Sometime in their growth of the product, they move to the cash cows. They will try to maintain the market share and no further growth. The growth could lower. But the stars are both high. Market share high, market growth high. So then this slide is a bit important. I'm sure that these things may not be tested, because just for your understanding, I am sharing this, because so far I haven't seen any questions from the BCG matrix or the product life cycle. The other 3 has been tested comprehensively, but it's important, because since that we are in the non-financial tools, that you also can learn some more. But this is a BCG matrix. It try to understand the product or service mix in the firm in terms of market growth and market share. So star is one of the product quadrant categorized, and then the investment and cash flows are in this way. If you take a question mark, that there, you see that the market share is required to be increased. And that could be, one day could lead to stars. They require funds from other also, like potential is there. The startups is there. Startup products and services. One day they could reach there. Maybe down the line, somehow they might, drop on the process also. But this is where that you are taking high risk. Like if, let's say, the customer come up with the startup business, this could be a question mark. There is a chance of succeeding. Maybe the client is doing very well on some products, and then he come and ask a loan to put up a new product, new service, new business, right? So you need investment, maybe through the company, even the outside, through the company from the other business segments, other products line, other service line, because these will propel to stars. This is the cash cows. They generate cash, right? There is a lesser growth, but market share is high. They will generate funds to the company for the stars and the question marks. And if the client is coming and asking a loan, and then if the most of the products are in the cash cow level, then ideal facility could be working capital, because they need not to have investment type of this thing, because for the future, what they want is day-to-day operating cash flows, not the investment cash flows. Final one is the dogs, which is a divest, exit. After the cash cow, that might have to park in the dog or fail, question marks. You try to do something, but it's not successful, it's not potential, then come to the dog. Then at least you try to break even. No growth, no profit opportunities. You try to make it to break even, because if you are making a loss on that, will have an impact on other areas. So identify them as exit. That's a fourth one. So generally, you have 4 products, 4 service quadrants in a firm. So based on that, you try to take some decisions. That is called BCG, Boston Consultant Growth Matrix. I just want to share this, not it's a bigger one. Why I want to share is this is anyway like many other investment tools, non-financial tools. This is also good to understand product service mix in the firm. Similar one could be the product life cycle. There are 4 stages, at which stage they are in. Based on that, we are trying to take some decisions. Maybe generic strategies, Ansoff Matrix is again another tool that you can think about. But for exam purposes, SWOT, PESTEL, and Porter's 5 forces model are important, critical, being tested several times. So you need to know all these 5 areas that I have spoken about. 4 questions, 4 areas already tested. The last one is, giving a practical example, and what we have done and the 3 case studies could be tested. Only one time we have seen being tested, but there is a likelihood it coming again. That is all about the non-financial tools. So this is what we are trying to do is we try to understand some peripheral learnings in order to understand the project appraisal. So we discuss about working capital financing, we discuss about break-even and then financial tools. Next week, we are trying to do financial tools. Once we have done 4, then we have to discuss the investment tools and investment propositions. So with that, we are done with some ancillaries, and then we can discuss the project financing in detail and the SIG business units. I think those are the areas that we need to discuss. Possibly at a going rate, we may be able to complete those by mid-October also. And then we have like 3 to 4 weeks to take up some dedicated past paper questions and answers. So that's my plan. So any questions from your end?
No, sir.
What about others? Okay, Samindri. Presume rest of the team also in line. So what we will do is so we'll continue next week as we mentioned about financial tools and ratio analysis, financial reports and ratios, financial information, which is again very important session. Please do join if you don't try to miss the class, because very important part. Possibly as discussed, there may not be exams in October as scheduled earlier, so it could go bit postponed. But so best way is like to try to cover as much as possible once we do it in the class. So don't wait for the last moment, because we never know that what would happen in the future. Like when suddenly put the exams arranged, then we might not have adequate time to cover the whatever past papers and the revisioning, right? So having said that, so I thank you everybody for your participation with very difficult times we are experiencing. I always wish you have very safe times among your loved ones, and always be careful when you attending your day-to-day office works. I know it's like hard to do thing, but you can't be at home. Most of you are like in the front office work, so you need to be in office even the roster basis. But careful, this is not time to experiment, right? So I think maybe within a week or so that you can almost everybody can get the vaccine below 30 that they are offering. So try to get the vaccine done. So that may be the only near hope that everybody is having. So again, I'm thanking you for participation, and I wish all a safe week ahead. Take care, friends, and so we'll meet sharp 8 o'clock next Sunday. Thank you. Okay.